The pain shot through my wrist as I gripped the clinic's door handle. Behind me, my stepfather James cleared his throat, a sound I'd learned to fear over the past 3 years. "Remember what we discussed, Sophia?" My mother whispered, her eyes darting nervously between James and me. "It was a bicycle accident. I was 22, living at home while finishing my master's degree. That was my first mistake. The second was confronting James about his gambling away my college fund. The fracture happened last night." "You ungrateful little snitch," he had snarled, twisting my wrists until something snapped. "Your mother and I can spend our money however we want." Now, sitting in Riverdale Physical Therapy Center, I recited the story they drilled into me. I fell off my bike, hit the curb wrong. Dr. Diana Kane studied my intake form, her sharp green eyes missing nothing. At 40-something, she had an air of quiet authority that made both my parents shift uncomfortably. "Interesting," she said, reviewing my x-rays. "You must have fallen at a very specific angle to create this particular fracture pattern." James stepped forward, all charm and concern. "Our Sophia has always been clumsy. Remember last year's incident with the stairs, honey?" I remembered, just like I remembered the accident with the car door and the unfortunate fall in the shower. Each incident followed by the same words: "Family problems stay private." Dr. Kane's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in her eyes. "I'll need to examine Sophia alone. Standard procedure." "That's not necessary," my mother started, but Dr. Kane cut her off. "Actually, it is. Patient privacy regulations." Her tone left no room for argument. Once they were gone, Dr. Kane closed the door and turned to me. "Let me guess. This isn't the first accident?" I stared at my hands. I fell off my bike. She pulled up another x-ray on her tablet. "This is from 6 months ago. Your emergency room visit for a shoulder injury. See these distinctive marks here?" She pointed to faint lines on the bone. "They're consistent with a specific type of trauma. One I saw frequently in my previous job." My throat tightened. Previous job. Before opening this clinic, I spent 12 years as a forensic specialist with the FBI, focusing on domestic violence cases. She set down the tablet. "Sophia, bicycle accidents don't leave these patterns, but forceful wrist manipulation does." Tears welled up in my eyes. "You don't understand. If I say anything, you're afraid it'll get worse." She nodded. "But I've already documented everything. And unlike the ER doctors who treated you before, I'm not letting this go." A knock at the door made me jump. James poked his head in. "Everything okay in here?" Sophia tends to exaggerate her pain. Dr. Kane's smile was glacial. "Actually, I need to schedule several intensive sessions. The injury is more complex than initially reported." "That won't be necessary," he said smoothly. "We can handle her recovery at home." "I'm afraid you can't." Dr. Kane pulled out some forms. "These patterns indicate possible nerve damage. Without proper treatment, she could lose significant function. I'm sure you don't want that on your conscience, Mr. Harrison." The threat in her voice was subtle but clear. James's face darkened for a split second before his mask of concern returned. "Of course not. Whatever's best for Sophia." After they left to handle the paperwork, Dr. Kane turned to me. "I have a proposition for you. I'm starting a new rehabilitation program. 3 months, fully funded. You'd stay at the program's residential facility." "Stay, you mean? Leave home?" She nodded. "The program includes comprehensive therapy, physical and otherwise. It's very selective about its participants." I understood what she wasn't saying. It was a way out. "My mother?" I hesitated. "Has made her choices," Dr. King finished gently. "Now it's time to make yours." She handed me a card with a number written on the back. "This is my personal cell. Day or night, if you need help, call me." When I left the clinic that day, James's hand gripped my shoulder. "Nice doctor," he said, his fingers digging in. "Very thorough. But remember, Sophia, family problems. Stay private," I finished automatically. But for the first time, those words didn't feel like chains, because now someone else knew. Someone with the power and willingness to help. That night, I lay awake, staring at Dr. Kane's card. From downstairs came the sounds of another argument, my mother's pleading voice, James's angry responses, the familiar symphony of my nightmare. My wrist throbbed, each pulse a reminder of Dr. Kane's words. "I'm not letting this go." I thought about her specialized knowledge, her FBI background, the way she documented everything. She wasn't just a physical therapist. She was my chance at freedom. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. First appointment tomorrow at 9. Come alone. Dr. K. I clutched the phone, my broken wrist cradled against my chest, and made a decision. James was right about one thing: family problems should stay private. But we weren't family, and tomorrow his carefully constructed privacy would begin to crumble. What I didn't know then was that my fractured wrist would expose far more than just James's abuse. Dr. Kane's discovery was just the beginning of a truth that would shatter everything we thought we knew about my stepfather's past. I arrived at my 9 a.m. appointment with a new bruise blooming on my shoulder, James's parting gift for coming alone. Dr. Kane took one look at me and locked the clinic door. "Tell me everything," she said, leading me to her office instead of the treatment room. The words spilled out like a broken dam. 3 years of accidents, the missing college fund, my mother's silence. With each revelation, Dr. Kane typed notes into her secure laptop, occasionally pausing to ask specific questions about dates and injuries. "There's something else you should know," she said after I finished. "I ran a background check on James Harrison. The name he's using? It's fake." My stomach dropped. "What?" She turned her laptop toward me. "James Harrison supposedly appeared in your town 5 years ago. But before that, he didn't exist. However, when I ran his photo through my old FBI database," she pulled up another window. "Meet James Hendricks, wanted in 3 states for domestic violence and financial fraud." The man in the mugshot was younger but unmistakably my stepfather. Does my mother know? I doubt it. He's careful, picks vulnerable women with resources. Your mother's inheritance made her a perfect target. My head spun. The inheritance, my grandmother's money that my mother had received 2 years ago. The money that had mysteriously disappeared along with my college fund. Here's where it gets worse, Dr. King continued. Each of his previous marriages ended with the wife's accidental death. Both cases went cold for lack of evidence. Horror crept up my spine. My mother is in immediate danger, just like you. She leaned forward. That's why I'm calling in a favor. Remember the program I mentioned? It's actually a safe house run by my former FBI colleagues. We can have you there tonight. But my mother. Once you're safe, we can work on getting her out too. But Sophia, her voice softened, you can't save her if you're dead. A knock at the door made us both jump. Through the frosted glass, I recognized James's silhouette. He followed me, I whispered. Dr. King quickly closed her laptop. Back door. Now, my car's behind the building. Go. As I slipped out, I heard James's voice. Looking for my daughter. She's confused about her appointment time. Mr. Harrison, Dr. Kane's voice was steel. How interesting to see you. I was just reviewing some old case files. Perhaps you'd like to discuss them. I ran to her car, heart pounding. Through the clinic's back window, I saw James's face change as Dr. Kane held up what looked like his mugshot. The next few hours passed in a blur. Dr. Kane's colleague, Agent Sarah Martinez, picked me up from a secure location. As we drove to the safe house, my phone exploded with messages from James and my mother. Where are you? Come home now. You're tearing this family apart. The last one made me laugh bitterly. Family? We hadn't been a family since James arrived. The safe house was actually a converted bed and breakfast on the outskirts of town. 3 other women were already there, each with similar stories. Lisa, the house coordinator, showed me to my room. First few days are the hardest, she said kindly. But you're not alone anymore. That evening, Dr. King called with updates. She'd initiated an investigation into James' activities, focusing on the missing money. My mother had been questioned by police, but remained in denial. She's refusing to believe the evidence, Dr. Kane sighed. But we found something interesting in your old medical records. Those accidents you had, they follow the exact same pattern as his previous victims. It's like his signature. What happens now? Now we build a case. Your documentation will help protect future victims. But Sophia, she paused, Eno's around to him. Be careful. I ended the call and sat by my window, watching the sunset. For the first time in 3 years, I felt safe, but I couldn't shake the image of my mother, alone in that house with a man who had already killed twice. My phone buzzed with one final message from an unknown number. You can run, but families stick together. See you soon, sweetheart. I showed the message to Lisa, who immediately called Dr. Kane. Within minutes, security at the safe house was doubled. As I lay in bed that night, I realized James was right about one thing. This wasn't over. But he'd forgotten something crucial. I wasn't that scared girl anymore. And now I had proof of everything he'd done. The fractured wrist that was supposed to silence me had instead given me a voice, and I intended to use it. What I didn't know then was that my mother had also received a message that night. One that would finally force her to choose between her daughter and the murderer sleeping beside her. 2 weeks into my stay at the safe house, Agent Martinez burst into my room at midnight. Your mother's in the hospital. James tried to stage another accident. My heart stopped. Is she alive? Thanks to the neighbor. They heard the struggle and called 911. James fled, but not before your mother got these. She handed me her phone, showing photos of financial documents. She finally found his hidden laptop. The documents revealed everything: fake identities, stolen money, and detailed plans for what he called his retirement fund. Life insurance policies on both my mother and me. He was going to kill us both, I whispered. But now we have him, Agent Martinez said. Your mother's statement, the financial evidence, your medical records, and Dr. Kane's documentation. It's over. Except it wasn't. James remained at large for 3 more days. 3 days of jumping at shadows, of doubled security, of watching my mother recover in a guarded hospital room. When they finally caught him, it was almost anticlimactic. He was at a bus station, ticket to Mexico in hand. The arrogant smirk he'd worn for years finally cracked when they showed him the evidence. The trial came 6 months later. I stood in the courthouse, Dr. Kane beside me, and watched as my mother testified against the man who'd nearly destroyed us both. I was blind, she said, her voice stronger than I'd heard it in years. I chose to believe his lies because the truth was too frightening. But watching him hurt my daughter, she looked at me, tears in her eyes. That's a choice I'll regret for the rest of my life. James was sentenced to 25 years. The evidence from my case helped reopen his previous wives' deaths. 2 more life sentences were added. 1 year after my first visit to Dr. Kane's clinic, I stood outside the building, running my fingers over my fully healed wrist. Ready for your final checkup? Dr. Kane appeared beside me, smiling. Actually, I have something to tell you, I said. I've been accepted to medical school. I want to specialize in forensic medicine. Her eyes lit up, following in my footsteps. Someone needs to help the next person who comes in with a bicycle accident, I replied. Inside, as she examined my wrist one last time, we talked about the changes in our lives. The safe house had become a full-fledged support center, with Dr. Kane serving as medical director. My mother, after months of therapy, was slowly rebuilding her life and our relationship. You know, Dr. Kane said, when I left the FBI, I thought I was done with investigation work. But seeing you that first day, recognizing those injury patterns, sometimes our past prepares us for moments we never expected. You saved my life, I said simply. She shook her head. No, you saved your own life. You just needed someone to remind you that you could. Later that evening, I visited my mother at her new apartment. The walls were covered with her paintings. Art therapy had become her salvation. I'm sorry, she said, not for the first time. I should have protected you. We can't change the past, I replied, hugging her. But we can help protect others. She nodded at a canvas she was working on. It showed a broken chain transforming into butterflies. For the safe house, she explained. They asked me to teach art classes there. As I drove home, I thought about how a fractured wrist had shattered our silence but rebuilt our lives. Dr. Kane's discovery hadn't just exposed James's crimes, it had shown us our own strength. My phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Kane. Got another bicycle accident coming in tomorrow. Want to assist? I smiled, remembering my own rehearsed lies from a year ago. On my way, I typed back. Because sometimes the best way to heal isn't just to recover, but to become the help you once needed. My stepfather had been right about one thing: family problems should stay private. But he'd never understood that real family, the kind we choose and build and fight for, doesn't need secrets to survive. It just needs truth and the courage to speak it.